Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Okay, Poddies, I am super excited because today we have the amazing Michelle Evans on the podcast. Welcome, Michelle.
Thanks so much for having me, Jessica.
I'm excited because you've got some juicy stuff to bring to the podcast today, which anyone can tell that at this point I'm like rubbing my hands together with glee because I'm so excited. But you've had a really interesting background. So like me, you came from a big corporate, so you were working for Microsoft, which everybody knows. And okay, guys, you're either team Microsoft or team Mac. We're not going to go into that today. Like, it's fine. But you left Microsoft and a big salary to really focus on building a business around your family and around, a lifestyle that you wanted. And it seems to be going really, really well.
Well, yeah, but let's be honest, like I'm 7 years in at this point. So I've made a lot of the mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm. I think we all have, and I'm very excited to kind of talk about that later, because today we're going to be talking about integrity marketing and how you can actually use your marketing budget wisely, whatever that might be, and convert clients, but also avoiding some of the epic fails, perhaps, shall we say, of the internet world.
Yes, I like to call them learning moments.
Ah, good. I like that. Or learning moments. We can go with whatever.
We'll just brand it however we want. Yes, I'm happy to share those for sure.
Amazing. So tell everybody, what do you do? Like, what's the day-to-day behind the Michelle Evans empire?
Yeah, the empire. I like that. So at this point in time, and Jessica, I'm going to be really honest. This wasn't what my business started out as. It took me a while to really hone in and find sort of my sweet spot, right? But at this point in time, what I love to do is help business owners get more sales consistently. And by that, I don't mean that I'm a sales expert. That's, your domain, not mine. But what I am is an expert in helping people really figure out, where are my people hiding? What is it that they're looking for from me? And how do I get them ready so that when it's time to have a sales conversation, no matter what that is, if it's a webinar, an event, a discovery call, whatever, that they're leaning forward and saying, yeah, tell me more. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into why that's so important to me, because I have an epic failure, or as I like to call it, a learning moment that really goes well with that. And I do that with marketing funnels. Mm-hmm. And marketing funnels are not sales funnels. They're different things. So we can talk about that. And then once people have a marketing funnel set up, I help them get people in the door with Facebook ads.
So this is interesting because marketing, and not marketing per se, but Facebook ads get a bad rap. Like, everyone and their dog has tried a Facebook ad and been like, and has a horror story. I spent $300 million on Facebook ads and all I got was, a fish on the kind of targeting or something. And this happens so often. So where are people going wrong? Like, what is it about Facebook ads that are making people so confused?
That's a great question. The first thing that I always say is, do you have a marketing funnel? Because if you don't, you might as well just open up your wallet and set it on fire. Like, Facebook ads are not going to do anything for you if you don't have a holistic strategy and a proper path to send people on. It's funny, I was talking to one of my students last week and she's like, I hate the word marketing funnel, but I like marketing path. So I've been like noodling on the word path. But in any case, if you just go out there and you're like, hey, I'm showing up in your news feed and I've got something for you, people are going to keep scrolling. And that's when your ad costs are going to go through the roof, because everybody's like, I have no idea who you are and I don't want your thing, right? And so when I do Facebook ads with people, we do them in 3 stages. And we start with top of funnel stuff. And it's really just warming your audience up. What are those questions they have? How can I go be a giver before I am a taker? And that's usually where people go wrong, is because they want to go straight to the opt-in or straight to the sale. And they haven't spent the time warming them up. And I always say, it's a little like dating. Like I met my husband on Match.com, right?
Oh,
Most people.
I met my other half online dating. It's
There you go.
kids.
Yeah. So we met on Match a long time ago at this point, when online dating was new. And when I first put my profile up, like I had over 200 guys. I'm not like the most like modelish person, but I had like 200 guys immediately like wanting to get on the hookup, right? And I worked at a .com at that point in time, and so some of my girlfriends at work and we were all sitting around going, okay, how do we weed through all these? Because there's obviously some creepers on there. And so we came up with this strategy of we need to warm them up. They need to warm us up, really. And so we had this rule that we had to go for 3 or 4 weeks of texting and emailing before we would get together in person, because the ones who were there for a hookup would drop off, right? And I always go back to that when I think about Facebook ads, because it's kind of the same thing. Like if you show up and you're just like, Jessica, I've got something for you. Jessica, I've got something for you. I mean, your immediate reaction is like arms crossed, lean back, like, I don't need it. I don't know what it is, but I don't need it. But if somebody shows up and they're giving to you, you're a lot more interested to be like, let me check it out. Let me just see what's going on here, right?
It's interesting, isn't it? I think one of the ways that the market has changed, certainly since I've been in the online space, is that you used to be able to throw a Facebook ad out there and you could be like, right, here you go, give me your email address and your kid's birthday and your dog's name and everything. And then I will give you this 1-page A4 checklist that has maybe like a massive picture on it and about 3 little bullet points. And that's fine. And people are getting like leads for, 10 cents or whatever. And now, because we've had so much of that, because the market has been saturated with people who, perhaps didn't give as much as they promised or didn't deliver in the way that they promised, everyone else is having to work a lot harder, so we are having to warm people up first. It's not as easy as it once was. And yet people out there are still teaching, oh no, it's cool. Just throw $5 in there and ask them for everything and you'll probably be fine. And it's just not happening. Like you say, you're going for the hookup before you're going for anything else. And it's really putting people off.
Yes, 100%. And look, I started doing Facebook ads for my business and for clients back in 2013. And it was like the wild, wild west. I mean, you could spend $500 and you could get 1,000 leads easy.
Yeah.
But still, even back then, I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this, because a lot of times those leads went nowhere.
And that's the thing, it's if you don't have a marketing funnel and you get a bunch of leads and you do nothing with them, you'll still make no money. If you have a great marketing funnel, but actually not a great traffic source, or even not great, like in terms of having the best sales call conversions ever, you're still going to make money. It's about having the right people in your funnel that are actually looking at your stuff. So like you say, when they are ready, they're sitting up, they're taking notice of what you're doing. And when you do position an offer to them, they're saying yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's really, and we can get into this a little bit more, but I'm not the best on the phone salesperson. Like I'm not the one who is, selling ice to Eskimos or whatever, people say, right? I'm the one who would talk to you for a long time, give you a lot of value, and not close the business unless people were excited and ready to opt in and say, yeah, I really want to do this. And it was really interesting because I took almost all of December off. Mm-hmm. My kids were out of school. I wanted a low-key Christmas. Like I didn't want to be juggling craziness. But what I did is I queued up, I don't know, like 3 or 4 emails to say, hey, if you want to talk about working together in the new year, here's a form. I started off the new year with 8 new clients immediately. And it took no more than a few emails. But the only reason that is because they're super warmed up and I don't have space to work with clients all the time. So people were like, yes, sign me up. And that's the power of a marketing funnel, right?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I would say to people, look, it only takes two things to make money. You need traffic, you need the right traffic, most importantly, and you need an offer that they actually want and that they're interested in. If you don't have an audience, you can't sell to anyone. It's not build it and they will come. And equally, if your offer is rubbish, people aren't going to buy that either. So you've got to have both. And it doesn't need to be a huge audience. You can have a small but super engaged audience. A marketing funnel can work right from the beginning, regardless of how big it is, just because if you're attracting the right people, you're always going to be able to get them the best results. Your offers are going to be tailored for them, and life's going to be so much easier.
Yeah. In fact, it's better to start off small because you can see where it's going wrong. I had a student who built her first marketing funnel and she launched it, and she got it in front of about 45 people. 35 of them took action, and she ended up having one sale. She's like, well, I only got one sale. I said, you were in front of 45 people and you didn't have to talk to anyone. Like, let's start with the celebration. Like, this thing works. And you didn't have to do anything other than put it out there.
I love that. So let's talk about this, the marketing and how it does really well and how sometimes it trips us up, because one of the things that I found in this industry is that some people's marketing looks really good and you buy something from them, but the delivery maybe isn't great. And actually, we can all get sucked in to great marketing, but if the delivery isn't there, we end up buying things that perhaps we didn't need, perhaps we don't have great experiences with. And it can really put us off creating our own marketing funnels, because nobody wants to be the sleazy person who has this epic funnel and then doesn't get the results or doesn't give the experience or doesn't give the great client delivery.
Yeah. So first of all, don't do that.
Because that'll stop you creating anything.
Yeah. Like, let's just cut to the chase. But it's true. And a lot of times what I've seen is that people get so wrapped up in what's the right formula for this, or what are the right words, or how can I hire somebody to make this sound just absolutely amazing. And my whole philosophy is start small first. Get something that just absolutely kills it for your audience, where they're like, jumping out of their skin to get it because it's exactly what they want, and build from there. And in fact, some people are really good. I mean, I would say a small amount of people are really good at being super persuasive up front. They suck you into the story, they suck you into the experience, and then you get the end product and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I know I've fallen for that before. And I always take a step back and I always say, okay, what can I learn from this? What were the pain points that they really were pushing that got me to feel like this is the thing that I needed? If that really was the pain that I had, why wasn't the product or the service of the program what I thought it would be? And then how can I, for my own business, make sure that I don't have that disconnect? Like, if I talk about this in my marketing, I'm going to make sure that I deliver it here, and deliver it in a way that people are like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so, every time I've gone through an incident like that, I take a step back and I just go, okay, I don't want this to be me. How can I make sure that my marketing and my delivery are really well integrated?
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think people often look at copy for like marketing or for sales, and they go, I need to make it super, super persuasive so that everybody signs up and does the thing. But sometimes we have to look at the integrity with which we're doing that, and look at, are we saying things because we genuinely feel that the end product is going to help people who are feeling that, or who do have those problems, or who want to solve those issues, rather than, is this going to get people over the countdown timer in time for me to, make my 5K month or my 10K month or whatever it is. And I think sometimes we do have to be really careful about the integrity, because, marketing and sales are both industries where, we get the bad rap because everyone's like, oh, sleazy salespeople, oh, sleazy marketers. And I think it's such a shame, because there are people out there like you, like me, like lots of people who are really trying to market with integrity or sell with integrity and make sure that people are getting what they are looking for. But I think people can sometimes feel like when it comes to sales and marketing, it's the people who are loudest, who are putting out the most ads, who are constantly churning up the newsfeed. If you've seen anyone stood in front of a Lamborghini, we all know where that ad's come from, right? Everyone feels like they're going to be tarred with that brush. And so people don't want to promote. They don't want to shout out about it in case somebody says, oh, wow, the next picture we'll see of you will be you lying on a mattress made of $1 million notes. And it, and it makes people uncomfortable. So what can we do to help people feel more comfortable about genuinely promoting the services and marketing the heck out of them, even when they might be in an industry where people are not always acting with the best of intentions?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is to really be clear on how you show up best. This is something that I work with everybody on. Have you ever taken the How to Fascinate quiz by Sally Hogshead?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I have as well. I've taken it many times, and I'm the architect. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, if you're really struggling with how to show up best with your marketing, I want you to take this. In fact, if you're marketing anything, I want you to take this, because the number one thing you can do is be in integrity with yourself of how you show up best. If you're super innovative, be super innovative. If you're super trustworthy, be super trustworthy. You don't need to be the sleazeball standing on the beach in front of a mansion with a Lamborghini. Like that, you just don't have to. But if that's authentic to you, awesome. I have yet to see one that seems really authentic. But then the second thing, Jessica, that I did, because I fell for this. I fell for it a couple times, and I tried to launch, and it just bombed with a huge bomb. Back in 2013, the first thing I ever did is I heard over and over, like, you've got to put a online course together, get it out there and get people in it. And I was like, okay. I had this workshop that I was doing for corporate clients. And for my corporate clients, it was selling out, and it was selling for between $8,000 to around $14,000, $15,000 a pop. It was a 4-hour workshop that I did. And I was like, geez, I could just take this and put it in an online course and sell it, and I would be, set, right? But I didn't have an audience. I didn't warm anybody up. Like, I was just like, ta-da, come buy my thing. And surprisingly, I mean, I know this is really going to surprise you, nobody wanted to buy it.
How crazy is that? Like, how dare they?
And I was like, and the thing is that I got sucked into that story. I knew better. I had been a professional marketer for 16 years at that point. It's been more years now. And I knew a lot better than to do that. Yet I got caught up in that story. I got caught up in that excitement of, wow, I could be making money while I sleep. It is true. You absolutely can. And it's also true that you can only do that when you are truly serving your audience, at least sustainably. Like, you might be able to pull the wool over people's eyes once, but then it's not happening again. And so what I really learned from that is I need to actually stop trying to fabricate desire in my audience. And I need to, A, figure out what people actually want to buy, and B, build something that matches that, right? And so I came up with this idea of doing mini offers, just little tiny baby offers, to test out what actually will people put money down for. And then on the other side, I would give them this bonus of they could get a 30-minute Q&A with me, but then in return, I would get a 30-minute Q&A with them where I could ask them questions and really get into what it is they were struggling with, what it is they were looking for. And I'll tell you, some of those offers flew off the shelves. Like, I barely had to do anything. I might have told a few people who then told a few people, and pretty soon I'm sold out. And all of those mini offers were like $150 or less. Some of them were a lot less, because I really just wanted people to put some money down so that they had some skin in the game, and then I could get into their heads. And once I started doing that and really started understanding people, plus we can talk about my mastermind fiasco, but I had this opportunity to really get in the psyche of folks. And so I stopped like trying to force this customer avatar. And I actually said, yeah, I talked to Jessica and she's the perfect person for me to work with. Let me go back to this conversation I had with Jessica and figure out what was it that felt so perfect about what I have to what she wants.
And that's so interesting, because I get a lot of people, and I talk about this on the podcast all the time, market research is your friend. It's not sexy. Like, it's the worst part of any process. Like, it just is. It's really boring. And the majority of people they create a survey. They're like, oh, I'm going to send out a 10-page survey, and, they blast it out to a list and nobody answers it because it's a 10-page survey. And that's tough for people. Like, people don't have time. But if you ask the right questions, whether that's on a call, whether it's in a Facebook group, whether it's out to your email list and you just hit reply and let me know, you'd be surprised about the amount of people who genuinely do want to share how they feel or want to share their problem, because when you then create something for them, it makes them feel heard and special and like you are actually going to help them. I was talking on the Epreneur stage in 2018, and one of the things there that people came up to me afterwards, they were like, oh, I can't believe you said that, was I was talking about the fact that if you basically look at your audience's problems and you say, oh, well, here you go, that's not really worth solving, I'm going to give you something else instead, you invalidate them. And so you alienate your entire audience, right? Because you're throwing them through content and going, oh yeah, but that problem you really have doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You shouldn't spend any money on fixing that. Instead, go off and create this problem. And that takes so much longer, A, to actually educate them on, B, to sell, because you're selling to people who don't have that particular issue, and C, it's not actually in integrity with you or with them. They're buying something maybe because they like you, but it's not going to solve the original problem. Whereas if you do the market research in the first place and you listen, yes, it might not be something you sell, and that, that can be a little bit galling, but you can go out and turn that into revenue somewhere else. You can become an affiliate for somebody else's program who perhaps does fix the problem, or you can create marketing content that leads them to something else that helps educate them along the way, that helps fix that problem for free, and then takes them to the next stage, which you can solve. There are lots of ways of doing it once you have the research, but without that, it's not happening.
So true. And to your point about the market research is not sexy and it doesn't seem fun. The truth is, every failure that I've had in my business came because I either dialed it in for that or I skipped over it and got straight to the good stuff, right? The real stuff, the external stuff. Yeah. And the truth is, that's your foundation. And if you try to build something without that foundation, it's going to crumble down.
One of the things that was always interesting to me about marketing is, for me, marketing is effectively your house foundations. It's where you're building your real estate, and you're bringing people to you. You're bringing them to your podcast or your website or your blog or your YouTube channel, whatever it might be. And it's where you're establishing that relationship. And, market research is like the very first stone of the foundation that you put down. It's where you say, this is the plot of land I'm going to build the house. And you understand, right, okay, well, in order to get my marketing right and to generate the right leads in the first place, I've got to understand who my ideal client is and what they actually want. Because without those things, you can buy your plot of land, but it's effectively like buying a flag and going, I'm just going to put this wherever and hope that land is available for me to buy. And if it's not, someone's going to come and tear it down and they're just going to build their house there and you're screwed. You've always got to be looking at the next step. It's getting the sale, landing the client, doing all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of steps that you've got to take beforehand. You've got to do your market research. You've got to have a decent marketing funnel. You've got to have a good sales process. And then you've got to have a good delivery process. But I think, what people often see is just the end product. They're like, oh, well, it's all right for Jess, or it's all right for Michelle. They go out there, they do a couple of emails, they put out a post, and 50 people want to work with them. But I don't have 50 people, and I think sometimes we have to be a little bit more realistic about, it's a process. You've got to do your market research first. Once you know people, actually, it's really easy to find 50 of them. Actually, when you talk to them and you communicate in your content, your marketing, it's really easy to get 10 of them to want to work with you. When you practice your sales calls, when you're consistent about your delivery, actually, it's really easy to get people to pay you whatever it is that you want to be paid, because they know
so
the
true.
right things, you know?
Yeah, what's hard is when you're constantly in the moment trying to like either to push because you're talking to somebody who doesn't really need what you want, and I've had that, or you haven't made all the decisions about what your flag is planted in and what your foundation is all about. And so you're kind of like loosey-goosey, and people are like, I don't actually get what you would do for me. And I've done that too.
And everybody has. I think it's almost like a rite of passage.
Yes.
Like in business, you have to fail a few times before you get to where you want to be. You know, that is just the way it is. But I think, you know, one of the best things about like having podcasts or reading blogs or going out and watching webinars by good people is that you can learn from their mistakes and make the journey exponentially quicker for yourself, which is what we all want to do. You know, nobody wants to spend 4 years building a business that doesn't serve them. So if we can get all this right at the beginning, it's going to make it a lot easier and a lot less painful down the line.
Yes, although like this is a good transition into my story about being in a mastermind because back in 2015, I thought that very same thing. I was like, okay, I've had a bumpy start. I started full-time in my business in January of 2012. So I've gotten clients, I kind of have a process, but I've had a bumpy start, and I want now to get the shortcut to success, right? And so I found this person who's a multi-7-figure a year coach, has a really growing business, we'll say, and is a really, really charismatic salesperson. And I joined her mastermind, and it was $30,000 for the year, plus travel expenses, plus a lot of stuff. And I was like, okay, this person knows what they're doing clearly. They know something that I don't. I need to figure out what this is so that I can scale and grow like she has. And so I joined this mastermind, and the first thing they did is they said, throw out those marketing funnels. Here's what you're going to do instead. You're going to get on as many stages as you can and go to as many events as you can. And you're going to get as many business cards as you can. And then you're going to make as many sales calls as you can.
Oh, this just makes me cringe. I'm so sorry for you.
And I have to say, like, I'm not a complete introvert, but I definitely am on like that ambivert, right? It's like, I like people, but when I get too like overwhelmed with people, you will find me hiding in the bathroom stall. Like, I just need a few minutes, right? So in a 9-month period of time, I went to over 50 events, and I've got 3 kids. So that means a lot of like arranging babysitting and carpooling and all sorts of stuff. I was on an airplane. I was flying all over the place, meeting tons of people. I met over 2,000, or I got over 2,000 business cards, I will say. And the whole time, Jessica, this felt wrong to me because it's not how I fascinate. It's how she fascinates. It's not how I fascinate people. And so I'm going and I'm doing all these events, and people actually, you know, they give me good standing ovations for my talks. They would come visit me at my trade show booth. I would get their business cards, and I would call, and it was like I was starting over from square one every single time, number one. And number two, people just couldn't figure out what I could do for them. They're like, yeah, I heard you on stage. It was a great talk, but I don't understand how that's going to work for me.
Yeah.
And I had over 1,000 sales calls, like actual calls where I was on the phone with people, not where they no-showed me, that were all no's. Every one of those.
And that's hard, right? Because once, and I say this to people all the time, right? Sales, every person is a salesperson. Every business owner is a salesperson. And the one thing that stops salespeople getting more sales is their first no, or their second no, or their third no, or just in fact any no. Because once you have a no, your confidence dips slightly. And so the next call you go out and you perhaps don't push as hard as you could, or you perhaps don't challenge the client as to whether or not they really want the product, or you don't move forward in some way. It stops you following up. And then what happens is, because you didn't do that, you get another no. And then your confidence goes down and down and down to the point where you're just like, I can't sell. And that's not true, because at some point you were actually really good at selling, or you found it easy, or you enjoyed having conversations. But what has happened is you've lost the joy in it, and you're not talking to the right people. So you're constantly getting rejected, and nobody likes rejection.
Yeah, I mean, for sure with that. And, I would wake up in the middle of the night and my stomach would be hurting. I would be like waking up in the morning, like wanting to just pull the covers back over my head, just going, I just don't think I can do it again today. And really it's because as I was talking to people, I was untethered from my foundation. Because I was trying to figure out, what is it that people want to buy from me, instead of, this is what I stand for. Are you a person who would be a good fit? Mm-hmm. And that's why people couldn't figure out how I could help them, because I was just like swaying in the wind. Like, what marketing problem do you have? I can fix it. And I look back at it now, but I share this story because I know that a lot of people have issues like this. And the only reason why I went through 1,000 of those calls is because I was like, I am not going back to a job. I am going to figure this out. But when I got to that 9-month time period, and some of my previous clients who I had before that mastermind, their contracts were starting to run out, I was like, okay, if I don't figure something out, this is going to be a disaster. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, you know what? I need to stop. Like, I had success before I joined this mastermind. I need to stop. No more events, no more cold calling people, or almost cold calling people, none of that. And I just put together a super simple marketing funnel. And I actually sent it out just via email to all those people I'd met at all those events. So everyone who said no to me got this email. And it was just like a 1-page PDF that was like, here's the 1-page client creation system. And people were like, this is really fascinating. And I talked a little bit about the work that I did with some of my clients and had a testimonial. And I had a couple more emails. And from that, I got 26 sales calls. Now, remember, this is to the same group of people who've already told me no. And I got 26 calls. And from there, I had 12 people immediately sign up, over $60,000 in revenue. And I was like, okay, forget the stupid event stuff. Like, I'm going to focus on what I do best and how I connect with people best. And that's really laying the foundation first and then getting on the phone with them.
The key thing for me from what you've just said there is you've got to play to your strengths. So many people don't. Everyone, like your story, everyone wants to learn what somebody else has done in the hope that it will work for them. But it won't. Like, it doesn't always. For some people it does. Some people, if you're in similar industries, if you've got similar client bases, sure, it's got a higher chance of working for you. But the way that I work, or the way that you work, isn't going to work for everybody else, because actually it might not be their strong point. My buying style or my selling style might be very different from one of my clients. So it makes sense that actually their sales style needs to change, and as a result their content needs to change, or their marketing needs to change. And I think sometimes it's much harder to think, I'm going to play to my strengths and just do what I'm good at, than looking at I'm going to use air quotes here, guys, the proven formula that somebody else has used. Because just because it worked for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for 50,000 others. Everything that you do in your business is about you. And it's about your client, more importantly. Like, you effectively don't matter, unfortunately. Your client, it's about their problems. It's about how they want to buy. It's about how they appreciate your sales process running. It's about the kind of content they want to consume. It's about what they're interested in. And so many times, instead of playing to our strengths, we force ourselves to go out and learn something that we don't enjoy, or that doesn't make us happy, or that doesn't make us feel good. And so we spend all this time trying to learn it and trying to do it. And then we're surprised when it fails, and we kind of beat ourselves up and go, oh, well, it must be my fault. I just can't work the system. And it's not about not being able to work the system. It's about not tailoring the system for you.
And that's why you have to know your style. That's why you have to know your strengths. And it's actually the hardest part of marketing and growing your business, is because you have to, as woo-woo as it sounds, you have to embrace and love all the parts of you that maybe because like in my case, I really wanted to be more charismatic and more engaging in front of a huge crowd, like the person running the mastermind. But that is not me. I'm not going to be up there singing show tunes in giant high heels. It just is not me. But that's okay, because she occupies that space and I can occupy my space.
I love that. I love that. So if people want to get in touch and find out how they can create a bespoke marketing funnel that actually suits their style, and more importantly, helps them gain traction in their market, get the leads that they're looking for, and, you know, convert them into ideal clients, where can they find you?
Yeah, so my digital home is michelleLevans.com. And if you want to find out which funnel is right for you, what marketing funnel really can work for you, it's michelleLevans.com/quiz. And it'll tell you right away, and I'll even give you some training on it for free.
I love that. I love that. So if you are intrigued as to what kind of marketer you really are or really should be and how you can play to your strengths, make sure you head over to michelleLevans.com/quiz and you can check out what kind of marketing funnel is going to be right for you. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it, and I know everyone will have learned an awful lot. And guys, if you have enjoyed it today, please make sure you go and find Michelle, stalk her on social, and tell us what you learned and what your big key takeaways were. I'll see you guys in the next episode.